What's going on, everybody? TheKennyDubz here with another Megaman X Dive character overview video. Today we're going to be taking a look at ZX Aile. Alright, here we are taking a look at ZX Aile, and I've never actually played ZX, but Aile seems like a pretty nifty character. I was lucky enough to look into Aile on a daily single pull. But let's take a quick look at her splash screen. Not all that flashy, but to be honest, I kind of prefer the ones like this without, you know, like the background on it a little bit more. And that's probably a bit more accurate to how she was in ZX. So let's take a look at her active skills. First up, we have the ZX Buster here. Shoot an energy round to inflict about 20% attack damage to the target. Can be charged and unleash 2 sub-rounds, an additional energy round, dealing a 16.5% or 16.5 multiplier damage in total. So that's a fat damage multiplier there. However, with the ZX Buster, you actually have a few other options as well to make use of here. And I'm looking over there at my other monitor right now because I have the wiki pulled up because there's some information here. Accelerated charge reduced the time needed to reach max charge by 20%. Not too bad. However, I'll switch to Flame Cannon. ZX Buster change into Flame Cannon without needing to collect charge. You can directly fire, and launch energy shots that cause target to burn. And the burn, this one is a 302% damage multiplier right here, so that is very fat. The burn effect is 15% every half a second, and the duration is 3 seconds, so that's quite nice there. And then the final modifier chip we have access to for this one is switch to Shuriken. ZX Buster is changed to a Shuriken that ignores terrain. The Shuriken will form a ring status that rotates and flies in the direction of the target. The Shuriken damage is 205% attack damage. That's really all there is there because this ignores terrain. So multiplies a little bit less than this, but you know, that's still pretty nice there. For the second active skill here, we have launch quadruple slash to inflict continuous damage. When the last slash is made, the rising fang will fly out in sync. The rising fang ignores terrain and obstacles, do not take any damage during use. Now, for this one, I have no idea why there's no multiplier numbers here. However, thanks to the wiki, the slashes from the first to third slash are 131% attack damage. The fourth slash is 141% attack damage. And the Rising Fang is 102% attack damage. So that's pretty nice there. Assuming all of them connect though, right? Because it's like a combo-like move. So characters, unless they're stunned, they can kind of just easily get away from this. So for the modifier chips, we have reduced prep time by 20%, which isn't bad. And then we have switch to Ice Blade. When the last slash is made, 3 tracking ice balls that ignore terrain are launched in sync. When a quadruple slash or ice ball hits a target, it will slow the target, reduce the movement speed by 35%. That's quite nice there, so it makes it a bit harder for the target to get away. And I assume that this is the same for the other slash multipliers because it's still the same like slashing, but at the end here it has the ice balls, and the ice balls, I think it's the ice balls, is about 60% damage multiplier. That's all I see on the wiki here, and that's why I'm assuming it's the same damage multiplier because it's still the 4 hits, and the only thing different between this and this is the last hit that releases the ice balls. And then finally, we have access to switch to Tornado. When the last slash hits, makes a tornado that ignores terrain is launched. The tornado moves forward, dealing damage to all targets in range. So launch the tornado. Again, this is about 60% damage multiplier here. However, unlike the previous one, like this one, this doesn't inflict a status effect natively. So you just have to be aware of that. This does ignore terrain, but I'm pretty sure these also ignore terrain. The ice slash ignores terrain, I'm pretty sure. I remember ignoring terrain anyway. It's been a little while since I used her. But for the passive skills here, now we have Sword Cannon Mastery, which is quite nice, as it increases your damage by 20% when equipping a melee weapon or a launcher. And this is pretty interesting because I don't think there's many other cards or passives in general that have this this loadout. And this is really good because Decide's Will is a launcher, so if you're using Decide's Will, hey, go you. And if you're using Grudge and Decide's Will, hey, you know what? You're doing great. Next up we have Sword Cannon Adaptability. Reduces damage taken by 20% when equipping a melee or a launcher weapon. These two are okay. I would kind of prefer if these two were like maybe in one passive or something like that. But these aren't bad. Damage amplification, damage mitigation, 20% when equipping a sword or a melee weapon. A melee weapon or a launcher, which isn't bad. We have perfect resonance, become accelerated after using the skill 1, increasing movement speed by about 43%. Cooldown time of 6 seconds required after the launch of this before the skill can activate again. Damage multiplier of Rising Fang is increased by 20%. ZX Saber Ice Blade causes an increase in movement slowdown effect by 16%. So the effect is increased by 16%. And then the tornado generated by ZX Saber Tornado increased the damage by 20%. So it's not bad there. Speed boost and damage multipliers on the other skills here. Then we have Life Steal, which is pretty interesting. When you hit a target using the skill 1, so your charge shot here, GX Buster, there's a chance you will steal the target's life energy, recovering HP to about 23% attack. Wait 6 seconds for the cooldown before launches again. Prep time skill is also reduced by 20%. Now I want to check something on the wiki real quick here. Okay, so I'm looking at the wiki here, and it doesn't have the chance for this to trigger. It does, however, say guaranteed HP recovery every 6 seconds, which doesn't make sense alongside the wording on this. Maybe this isn't supposed to say there's a chance. Maybe like that just happens. Maybe that's why. Maybe this is just, you know, a wrong text because we've definitely had that before in game. And then finally, we have Glorious Return. You can use ZX Saber repeatedly. After its trigger, you can only trigger once with a 6-second cooldown. When ZX Saber hits a target, the target will become immobile. Landing a weapon hit, there's a chance to increase damage dealt by 10% to be stacked to 4 levels. This is kind of like Battle Mania for Via, but the cool thing here is you have to use ZX Saber repeatedly, and when ZX Saber hits a target, the target will become immobile, which is actually really, really good, because if the target doesn't become immobile, it'll be really hard to connect the full the full combo for this there. So that right there is very, very nice as well. And I don't think the enhanced damage chance is about 40%. So that's pretty good there, actually. 40% chance of that happening. We're gonna look at the DNA. Now the DNA probably isn't gonna drop with ZX Aile. Actually, I'm like 98% sure it won't. But in the the off chance that it does, I would go over here this anyway, even if I know it's not gonna happen, just so that people are aware of the DNA you get. So first up, strengthened lifesteal increases the recovery power of lifesteal by 30%, and the prep time for lifesteal is reduced by 30%. Not bad there at all. This is more PvE skill, so you won't really be making use of that in PvP. Next up, we have Showtime, that suffer from negative side effects when using ZX Saber, which is very good, because if we go back and look at ZX Saber here real quick, nope, not right there, you're not taking any damage during the use of the ZX Saber. So now you have 2 Showtime on your ZX Saber, which is very, very nice. And then finally, we have Hero's Awakening. When you use a skill, gain a chance to gain enhanced damage status that cannot be removed, increase damage deal by 30%. When you are in an enhanced damage status, reduce damage take by 20%. Now that is very, very nice as well. The wiki does not tell me what the odds are of this happening. However, just the fact that when you're in enhanced damage status, you take 20% less damage is fantastic. You have an inherent 40%. You have a way to inherently have 40% less damage taken on a character, which is quite nice. And then your damage increase cannot be removed when coming from this status. Although it is important to note that the damage increase coming from is it this one? No, I think it's in Glorious Return. Yeah, this one, based on the wording, can be removed. So you're gonna have to keep that in mind when you're stacking your attack buffs for ZX Aile. And then her unique DNA, I actually don't remember what it is. Relentless, when HP is less than 50%, get a long duration preventive shield. That'll protect you against all negative status effects. This will only be activated once per stage. Now again, I hate this wording because it's not all negative status effects. We have plenty of things that will ignore preventive shield nowadays, so that's legitimately just incorrect information. Other than that, though, we have Player Killer, Player Sentinel, Launcher Activability, Melee Activability, Launcher Amplification, Melee Amplification, and what have you. And then on the defensive side over here, Interference Res, Mobilize Res, Slow Res, Mobilize Special Attack, which is quite nice because you can inflict it Mobilize once your DNA drop. Continuing Advanced Special Attack, Self Special Attack, which again is something else you can inflict on your own as well. So yeah, that's not too bad there. But that's it for ZX Aile's kit. So let's go take a look at some weapons that will pair well with her. All right, ZX Ale actually has some preferred weapons she like to use. However, Buster Melee is just really good. So as per usual, if you want to use Buster Melee, I'll throw that in here as well, just because you can use, as long as you're using a Buster or Melee weapon, you'll get the benefits from that. That's good there. And kind of again, as per usual, the sniper style busters, you know, your sniper buster, your Hawk Precision, I'm sorry, not Hawk Precision, your explosive bolt here. I always recommend Sniper Buster because it's an easy weapon to get. Everyone has access to it. Once you get to research level 8, you can just raw make this if you're very, very unlucky with getting any other sniper style busters. I think this is the best sniper style buster if you're doing PvP. Explosive Bolt is just really good. It has the longest range, has high damage output potential. Now, I always recommend Player Killer as your hidden skill because it's just very good. You don't have to do anything to set it up, as opposed to Penetration. While Penetration does have higher damage potential, you need to be able to set up the Penetration shots, and that can be a pain depending on the terrain, the position of the opposition or things like that. Other than that, again, as per usual, we have Hawk Precision Buster. I like this weapon as appearance. I don't like it in practice. This weapon has the application that it can pierce terrain, which is really good. However, in order to pierce terrain, you have to first hit a target in medium to long range to get the buff for this weapon, so that you could then use that buff to pierce terrain and hit targets, without that. But like I said, the problem is you have to hit targets first in medium to long range. But if it didn't have that, condition, I think this weapon would be broken, to be quite honest with you. So there is that there. Can't forget about the Destructive Laser. Either Destructive Laser is a pretty good weapon. It's a limited weapon, so you won't be able to get this as easy as the other busters. Oh, Hawk Precision Buster is limited as well. But Destructive Laser has a bit of a higher, lower. It fires faster. Whichever one means the highest faster. I think higher rate of fire, or is it lower rate of fire? Higher makes sense in my mind because I associate high with going faster, but lower rate of fire I think means it fires more quickly, which is what this weapon does compared to the Sniper Busters. It's a little bit weaker because of that, though. And finally, the Ultimate Blast. Now, I'm mentioning the Ultimate Blast here because apparently this weapon comes out the same day ZXL comes out. I was unaware when I made my update video yesterday, but ZeroX responded to me. He said, yeah, we're also getting Ultimate Blast, so I'm throwing this in here as well. Ultimate Blast is a very, very good buster. If you like busters like I do, you'll like the Ultimate Blast. The reason Ultimate Blast is really good is because of a few different things. One has complete penetration, so it just pierces landscape and terrain, so you don't even have to be that close. It also has pretty good range in general, so that's quite nice. It also has a laser you can shoot as well that ignores terrain, and the laser can also inflict immobilize status, which is quite nice. And on top of that, this passive here, the shot and the laser overload will still auto aim even in a state of confusion or the automatic aim is turned off. So just like the sides will, you get the automatic aim. It also has Berserk Shot, which doubles the power of it. When you hit a target in mid-range, though, it takes up more ammo. And as for the hidden skills on this one, this shouldn't come with the hidden skills either. But here's just things you have access to, just to show that real quick. Alright, for melee weapon, kind of just like your standard things are going to go here as well. Nightmare. Nightmare just gives you a stackable attack boost by swinging it around or by hitting a target. That's basically it. Nightmare is it's not as good as it once was, but I figure I was throwing it in here just in case someone wants to, you make use of that. I do have the Ancient Relic, though. Ancient Relic is a pretty good utility weapon. Ancient Relic does have its utility and its hidden skills. You can go for Speed Rune, which you don't really need on ZXL because she has inherent speed. We have the Protective Rune that can give you a shield when you need it, and I think that the speed boost is typically better. But some characters you might want the Protective Rune on, and ZXL might be one of those characters that you get the shield on. Other than that, there are two other hidden skills here, but you probably won't use these very much, to be honest. Assault Rune if you're doing raids, but that's really it there. Next up, Grudge Axe. Grudge Axe is a fantastic weapon. Now, I say this every time, but I don't really like Grudge Axe all that much, but it's a very good weapon. The reason Grudge Axe is good is because it has a 60% chance when connecting with it to either steal the buff of a target or inflict it with out of control, meaning its horizontal controls are reversed. So that's basically it. Buffs aren't safe. If they can be removed, you can steal them with Grudge Axe, which is very, very nice for Grudge Axe users. not so nice for people not using projects or using characters that might really want to keep their buffs onto them. Red Lotus Saber is also a fantastic weapon you can make use of as well. Red Lotus Saber has dot damage or damage over time. It has defense crusher, increases damage you deal. It has a speed boost passive, which is very, very nice. It allows you to engage or disengage more easily. And it has Red Lotus Salvo, which will set a fire pillar in place and will deal 150% of your attack damage to anything that comes into contact with it. All things that are very, very nice. Also want to throw Singularity Slasher in here as well. Singularity Slasher is basically a side grade if you don't have Grudge Axe. What Singularity Slasher does instead is that it dispels buffs from the target. And kind of again, like I always say, but for those of you that are new, why dispel the buffs when I could take whatever buffs my opponent has and give them to myself? Like if they have a unique shield, like a life aura type shield or something like that, I can just get it for myself instead of just raw removing it. Now the trade-off is that this weapon is guaranteed to remove them, as opposed to growing up to 60%. However, because of how melee weapons are used in X Dive, each time you slash, there is a chance for it to trigger. So you're getting quite a few rolls at the 60% chance to trigger as well. And when I say the way melee weapons work, I mean like the dash slashing technique, because that's the most effective thing to do with melee weapons. Alright, so let's go ahead and look at some launchers here. First, we're going to take a look at Decide's Will at home, the Cannon God. This is just a worth version of Decide's Will. Cannon God, it can pierce terrain, it can inflict the immobilized status, and that's basically it. It's a little bit, like I said, it's a worse version of Decide's Will. You can also use the Turbo Cannon. Turbo Cannon isn't a bad option. Turbo Cannon gives you access to more iframes, so you have it on more than just ZX Aile's, her ZX Saber. The thing is with this weapon though, if you are going to use this for the iframes, one, that's a hidden skill. So you need to come down here and look at look at Overheat Protection. When the weapon runs out of energy, gain an invincible effect and take enough damage. So that's what you want to do there. However, you also need to be careful of unlocking this, because this sounds good in theory. Increase range and energy by 10%. However, in order for you to trigger your Overheat Protection, you need to run out of ammo. And if you have 10% more ammo, that means it takes you a little bit longer to get access to your iframes. You can also use Starbreak Cannon. Starbreak Cannon isn't too bad. It has, hold on, where is it? It has interference, so you can get rid of 2 buffs. That's complete penetration, so you can just penetrate terrain. And that's Starbreaker as well, dealing additional damage with the bombardment as well. And finally, the weapon that most people are probably tired of hearing about if you play PvP, Decide's Will. Decide's Will is just a fantastic weapon, especially if you're a zoner. Now, this is a limited weapon. Actually, I think... Alright, no, never mind. I thought I mentioned a few other limited launches in there, but I didn't. Decide's Will is limited weapons, so you can only get this during limited weapon banners, which, conveniently, there will be one showing up tomorrow featuring the Ultimate Blast. So, you might want to throw a pull there. But the reason why Decide's Will is good is because inherently, remember that passive I showed on Ultimate Blast? This has that inherently. The weapon will still auto-aim in a state of confusion, or automatic aim is turned off in the settings. So that's pretty good there. It also has the laser as well, and it has its missiles. It can leave the marked effect, so increasing the damage you take. And the range on this is pretty solid as well. So if you're using anything with zoning, you're probably going to be using Decide's Will, just to like kind of zone out and have a long range option. Alright, and here we are talking about some of the cards that will be good for ZX Aile, and I wanted to start off with this card here because she actually has her own character card, and this card in particular, now I don't know if this is going to drop with her when she releases tomorrow or on Wednesday, depending on wherever this video goes up, but this drops with her on her event. If it doesn't, I don't know how we're going to get it in global. However, you can see the effects of it here. Let me show you a non-5-star version of it. First, at the base version, we have Sword Maestro Cannon 1, and we have Blind Resistance 2. Increase Second Sword Maestro adaptability, or Sword Cannon adaptability by 20%, and then Blind Resistance by 30%. And then once you get this to 5-star, increases that by 30% and 40%. The Blind Resistance, that's okay. It might indirectly give you some damage mitigation because of the opposition might have more damage when hitting a blinded target. Other than that, blind isn't really that big of a deal. but having 30% increase to your 20% damage reduction isn't too bad, just inherently for existing, so that's quite nice there. Other than that, things you might want to look out for, especially if you're using ZXL for PvP, like I know some people want to, you'll probably want to make use of. Now, this is going to depend a lot on what you're using, but standard things that I tend to recommend for stuff like this are the Akuma card, because the Akuma card I Master with the Fist. This will stack with any level of player killer or player adaptability here. The trigger is off of red, blue, and the ZXL card happens to be a red, so if you wanted to use the Akuma card, you can use that quite nicely with it. There's also the M Bison card. The M Bison card has player killer 2 as well. At max will be player killer 3, so either a 60% or 8% boost in your damage. And you can actually stack the M Bison card with itself. You can go M Bison, then a yellow card for that, so that's quite nice there. The Wolf Sigma card additionally has player killer and combos well with the ZXL card, actually, because this is a blue card, triggers off red blue for a player killer, so that's quite nice there. And then on top of that, if you end up using the Decides Will card, or the Decides Will going launcher and melee weapon like she likes, or just having launcher in general, you have access to the launch adaptability too as well. On top of that, by adding a yellow card in the mix as well. Other than that, Elite Hunters is a fantastic combo you can do as well. Elite Hunters is double Buster, Buster melee, and you go double Elite Hunter and then a red card, so you have access to that. And then alongside the Elite Hunters, again, depending on what you're going to be using with her, Twin Heroes. I have a picture of it here because I don't own it on this account. I have it on my global account. That card's a bit harder to get because it was only available as a 1 month for the activity, and then other than that, you could buy it. So you might have access to that, but it triggers off of red blue as well. Elite Hunter is you can get from your guild, so that's pretty easy to get. I also didn't mention it earlier, but the other cards up here, Akuma and M Bison are from the Street Fighter event, so if you missed that, you don't have access to those. This comes from ZXL's event, so be sure to get this if you're playing when she releases, otherwise you're gonna have to wait until the event comes back around. And the Wolf Sigma card is from a raid, from one of the Wolf Sigma raids. So if you didn't get that, you're gonna have to wait till that comes back around as well. So that kind of sucks. Other than that, if you don't have access to a red card you want to use with the Elite Hunters, you can always use the Excess Memories card. Excess Memory card is available from the Deep Reporter, so make sure you're doing your Deep Reporter runs for a chance at that. Now, you can also use the Life Aura card here for access to Player Killer 2, and again, triggers off of yellow, red. So you can stack this with itself, a 5-star copy and a non-5-star copy. You can have yourself access to 14% Player Killer and then a red card. And the Sigma X4 Second Form card is another card you can get that's Player Killer as well. These two you can get from the token exchange, so you don't really need to worry about these not being available. All you really need is to be able to have some access tokens for them. Alright, that's going to be it for ZXL. Now, this video might have seemed a little rushed. That's because I'm a little short on time right now because I've been playing way too much Final Fantasy 16 lately. Been having too much fun with that. But should you pull for ZXL? And if you're a fan of ZX, sure. She's definitely not needed by any means for really for PvP at all. She's pretty solid as a PvP unit. However, the problem with being a solid PvP unit these days is that means you're not broken. Now, that doesn't mean you're bad by any means, but not being broken means it's a bit harder for you to keep up just inherently with some of the other units. Now, like I said, ZXL is pretty solid. I think if you get her and you intend to use her for PvP, and you won't be disappointed most of the time. Now, I say most of the time because you might have to put in a little bit more effort to use her as opposed to someone using Dive Armor 0 or, you know, Dive Cross Megaman, but you can perform well with her. So that's basically it there. Like I said, if you like ZX, you can go ahead and pull for her, or if you just like limited characters, you can go ahead and do that as well. She's not needed. She's okay for PvE content. She's not the best, but she has some healing, she has some iframes, so you can get by with her as well in that. But I mean, PvE is so free. You can use basically whatever you want in PvE and be okay. But yeah, that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Channel go, show me enjoying the content. And I'd like to give a quick shout out to my YouTube channel members and my patrons. Thank you for continuing to support me, allowing me to do what I do. If you'd like to support me as a channel member or as a member on Patreon, you can find the information down below in the video description. And I'll catch you guys next time. Later.